G'day, I'm Trent Maxwell.
And I'm Lee Mason.
We want to welcome you to our Live Learn Survive podcast. Since 2018, Lee and I travelled the globe and met face-to-face with over 31,000 children in 6 countries across 3 continents. We created a series of award-winning children's books, a global online education program, and are founders of the Live Learn Survive charity, all focused on teaching children and young adults life skills that will not only help themselves but help others too. We're on a mission to spread awareness about fire, water safety and first aid education to inspire the next generation of first responders. So join us for the next half an hour with some fun, inspiration and kindness, and we'll try and learn something too. How are you this week, Lee? Welcome aboard.
Maxie, I am good. How are you?
I am great. It's that time of the week. We've got another special guest.
Another of our favourite episodes when we've got a guest, Maxie.
I love it.
How good is this?
And this one's going to be a great chat. I'm looking forward to hearing all about this special guest.
I know. I've been learning a lot about this amazing lady in the short time that I've learnt about her, and really excited to hear about some of the incredible things she does. So, shall I go into the intro, Maxie?
Give her the introduction she deserves.
Okay, so today we would love to welcome Lizzie Welborn. Lizzie is a 25-year-old professional surf ironwoman from Sydney, Australia. Lizzie qualified for her first professional series when she was just 16, making her one of the youngest competitors to ever qualify. She was one of the most accomplished young athletes that surf sport has ever seen. Lizzie has now completed in 9 professional series, placing in the top 3 multiple times in the Nutrigrain series and the Summer of Surf series. Alongside the series racing, Lizzie has also represented Australia in the sport on many occasions. But Lizzie's not done yet. Her eyes are still set on claiming a professional series title, as well as winning an Open Australian Ironwoman and board title. Outside of sports, Lizzie has also competed in many paddleboard races around the world, including the gruelling 52-kilometre Molokai to Oahu World Paddleboard Championships in Hawaii. Hope I said that right. Hope I got that right. 2 years ago, Lizzie and fellow Ironwoman and best friend Harriet Brown co-founded KaMana Community. KaMana is a program designed to educate and empower female athletes to build confidence so they reach their potential in sport and life. I love this. In today's world, it's increasingly difficult to be a female athlete. There is overwhelming pressure from social media, peers, coaches, and themselves. Lizzie and Harriet explore topics that aren't truly spoken about enough, including body confidence, relationships with food as an athlete, and menstrual health, all things they faced or struggled with during their athletic careers. Their interactive workshops equip girls with knowledge, skills, and confidence to overcome obstacles they may face on their journey in sport. And so far, they've empowered over 2,000 girls and delivered 85 workshops. I love all of that, Lizzie, and we would love to welcome you to our podcast. We can't wait to hear more about all of this.
Yeah,
welcome,
Lizzie.
Thank you so much for having me today. Hello, everyone.
Yeah, that is a great bio and a great introduction to this podcast, Lizzie. And I know a lot of people are going to take a lot away from this chat. So, Lee, do you want to kick us off the first question?
Yeah, absolutely. What a bio, Lizzie. Congratulations. And, so we'll start with life-saving. Tell us about your life-saving journey.
I have a bit of an interesting life-saving journey. So growing up, I did nippers in under 6 at Maroubra. I hated it. So I did it for about 6 weeks and then my parents took me out. And after that point, I actually wasn't a very sporty kid. I didn't love doing sport. And I remember finding a journal my mum had kept when we were younger. And she had written I wish Lizzie was sporty like her mum and dad and was into all of those things. I was not. I'm also not very blessed at being very coordinated with a ball and things like that. So I think I just found sport quite hard as a youngster. But then I joined Nippers again. I think I was in under 11s when I joined Bronte Surf Club and all of my friends at school were doing it. And I fell in love with lifesaving and the sport. I loved being down at the beach every Sunday. I loved going out in the ocean and paddling a board and just the whole community around it. It was like something flicked within me and I just fell in love. There was a local training group there, which my parents signed me and my sister up for as well. And I loved learning how to push my body and try really hard and feel like what it's like to have a goal and be determined in that sense. I mean, as a young kid. So I think I just also really enjoyed being at the beach and hanging out in the waves and all of those things. But as a young nipper, when I got back into it, I was, again, not very good, not very naturally talented. And even though I tried so hard, I never achieved any goals really. Like I didn't, state titles is kind of like the biggest event you can go to as a nipper, and I never made a final, but I still just loved it and tried really hard despite all of that. And then when I was a bit older, I think I was 15, I moved to North Bondi to be coached under Scotty Thompson. He had a great, he still does have a great training program, but he had a great training program going there. And when I moved there, it was like everything took off for me. I was still training just as hard, but the program really, I flourished there. There were girls there my age who I could push myself against. There was a great group of older athletes as well. And I just started to improve really quickly. And then within 2 years, I had made the Nutri-Grain series. So it's a bit of a journey, but that's kind of how I got into the professional sport.
Wow, that's incredible. That some of the times you say, Maxie, that you didn't, you weren't a natural when you started in nippers and things like that, were you? You were like,
Yeah, I was just going to add on to that. So, me and Lizzie are very similar in a way, because I started lifeguarding at 16. I was the youngest professional lifeguard at the age of 16. And, I was South Maroubra Surf Club, not Maroubra, but South Maroubra. And I love nippers as well, but I was never picked for the team relays or picked for the board relays. And then I just gradually stuck with it, similar to your story. And then eventually the natural talent came out, and, what a career that you've had in the last couple of years with what, the journey. And I love to see what this summer brings as well. I know you're fighting fit and you're training really hard for the next series.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
It's very exciting.
I'm so glad that I stuck with it as a young nipper and as a young kid, I guess, because there are so many times in sport when you feel like you're trying hard and not getting the results that you want, that maybe you feel like you want to stop doing sport or don't feel motivated. So I'm really glad that I had the love and the passion for the sport that allowed me to keep on doing it. And then I was able to, I guess, reach my potential as a young athlete. And then I can't believe I've been racing for 10 years as a professional athlete now. It's insane. This is my 10th year racing professionally. So I'm excited to see what this year can bring. It's a bit of a milestone. But we're in pre-season right now and training's been going well. So I'll just keep taking it week by week and we'll see what happens over the summer.
Can I add a question in there, Maxie? Can I ask, what does training look like, Lizzie? What does a day look like? What's training look like?
We have a pretty full-on program. So at the moment, we're training 16 times a week for our sport. We have for those of you who don't know it, we have four disciplines that we have.
Yeah, because there'll be a lot of people overseas that won't know. Yeah. So 4 disciplines.
I recommend looking it up because it's quite an interesting sport to look at, but I'll try to describe it as best as I can. So we're kind of like a triathlon, but it's in the ocean, and there's 4 different disciplines that we have to train for, which is running, swimming, board paddling, and ski paddling, which is kind of like kayaking, but we call it an ocean ski because it's a specially designed boat, I guess, that goes in and out through the surf. And so the board, swim, and ski are the main elements of an Ironwoman race, and they're tied together with a run leg. Now, the I guess order and the way that the event works changes all the time, but it is a combination of all of those 4 things. And because of that, there's a lot of training that we have to do to tick all of those boxes. So I swim every morning at a swimming pool, and then in the afternoon we're always at the beach, either doing a ski session, a board session, or an Ironwoman session or an Ironman session where we tie all the elements together. But then we also have running training and gym training twice a week, which will happen either during the day or after a beach session as well. So we train, and most Ironmen and Ironwomen follow this exact same program. So we all train about 16 times a week, up to 3 times a day. Sunday's the rest day where we can regroup and get on top of
life going on.
Life admin, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, no, it's a lot going on, and hats off to you for been doing it for over 10 years.
No, it's crazy.
10th year. So, life-saving journey we spoke about, but this is something very interesting that I want to learn more about. Can you tell us more about the KaMana community?
So yeah, thank you for the introduction. So that summed up KaMana Community well. But Harriet Brown, who is also an Iron Woman and my best friend, as you said, we've been friends through sport for a really long time now. And through our time in sport, we're doing a lot of nipper clinics and working with a lot of young girls and young kids, helping educate them on like paddling and training and all of these things. But we realized there were a lot of girls asking questions about things like body image or what to eat. And we would just kind of answer them normally at the time. But there were like these kind of series of events that all happened within a few years. So Harriet's an exercise physiologist. So she's been practicing as a physiologist for a long time. And she was at the point where she was getting sent a lot of athletes to her clinic that had lost their period. And their parents were obviously thinking, well, Harriet is a physiologist, she's an athlete, and she's a woman. She'll know what's going on with these athletes. And they were sent to her, but Harriet hadn't learnt anything about, female athlete health or like menstrual health things in university. So she was getting all these girls and not exactly 100% sure what to do. So she's right, I need to go and like learn about all of this stuff and deep dive on it. And at the start, she was hesitant to do that because she didn't, as an athlete, she didn't want to know if there was a time where she would perform better or there might be things going on that would impact her performance. But after she was referred to by a lot of people, she was like, right, I need to go figure this out. And she spent a long time kind of researching this whole thing and becoming an expert in this field. And the information that she found, she realized was so important and no one was really talking about it. No one knew about it. So she created this workshop initially that she was presenting to local schools and sports clubs in the area just to pass on the information that she had, I guess, put together. On the other side of that, I was kind of going through my own journey where I was really struggling with my own body image. I had gone through a period of time where I had a terrible relationship with food and wasn't fueling myself correctly because I had reached, I guess, a phase in my athletic career where I thought it would be beneficial for my performance. And I thought I would like my body better if I was really lean and super shredded and kind of the smallest athlete I could be. Which didn't turn out to be true at all, but I didn't have any resources or information around me to learn otherwise. And I also didn't know how to talk about it. I didn't know how to have a conversation with my family or with my friends or with my coaches saying that I was feeling insecure about the way that I looked and I wasn't feeling myself correctly. And these two things were kind of happening separately. And then we, for the first time, started opening up to each other about our own insecurities that we had faced, because I think every female athlete in any sport would go through a time where they feel insecure about their body. Athletes' bodies are always kind of commented on and on show. So I don't know many female athletes that haven't struggled with this thing. And as I said, we got to a point where we had this conversation for the first time, opened up to each other about what we had experienced. Harriet started sharing with me all the information that she had gathered and put together on menstrual health. And it got to the point where we realized that we needed to start having this conversation with more athletes, because I know that for me personally, if I had had the resources to learn about menstrual health, learn about body confidence, learn about how an athlete's relationship with food when I was younger, then the obstacles I faced, I may still have faced them, but they wouldn't have lasted as long, and I would have been armed with the resources to be able to reach out for help or I guess know what to do and know that other people had struggled with this and I wasn't the only one. So
that you're not the only one.
Yeah. And that's the main core of what KaMana wants to achieve, is letting athletes and girls who just do sport or are just sporty and active know that these things that they're going through, they're definitely not alone in experiencing that. So the first idea of KaMana came about a long time ago, and it's taken us a while to figure out exactly what it was going to look like and how we were going to deliver this information. But we now have a program that has 4 workshops in it, and we go to schools and sports clubs to deliver these workshops. The topics are body confidence, female athlete health and understanding the menstrual cycle, and a nutrition one which focuses on an athlete's relationship with food. We also have one on performance mindset and habits, which isn't a taboo, hard to talk about topic, but because we've been professional athletes for I 10 years, Harriet 15 years, we love talking about goal setting and self-belief. So that kind of encompasses all of that in that workshop. But yeah, it's been a journey, but we are so proud of what we've achieved in such a short period of time, and to see the impact that it's had on the small athletes we've reached at the moment has been really cool. And we can't wait to see what we do in the
future. Absolutely. Because isn't it, and I don't know the statistics, but I think I've read something recently, isn't it like the girls dropping out of sport is
so
at almost like record numbers, which, you know, for me was, as a kid, you know, teenager, was netball and swimming, but like the amount of, and I don't know roughly what age it's sort of, but there isn't, would I be right in saying that girls are dropping out of sport?
100%. So Dove and Nike did a study, I think it was early last year, on teenagers and the dropout rate in sport. And I think it was half of girls by the age of 14 or 15 were dropping out of sport, and the number one reason for that was body image concerns. And
it's terrible.
That's just one element.
It's awesome that you and Harriet are taking the initiative to create this great community to inspire and encourage not just sporty females, but all females across Australia and now the world, hopefully the people that listen to this podcast. So keep up the good work, and it's stuff that you should be continuing to do. And, you know, if Live, Learn, Survive can support you in any way,
absolutely.
We're always happy to help spread the awareness of great stuff that people do.
Thank you. That's so nice.
Yeah, Lee, you're up.
Yeah. So what was the first step that you started, like, to start and create this community? How did you said about like how you sort of worked the message, then how did you start to build on it?
Yeah, so the whole journey was quite difficult because we wanted to start this business, we wanted to start this program, but we are full-time athletes. Harriet also had multiple other jobs that she was balancing at the same time. I was still finishing my university degree when we first had the idea together. So it was a very slow start to creating this program. And it actually ended up being a bit of a blessing in disguise because it allowed us time to actually think about what was going to be the best way for us to deliver this information. And the idea of how we were going to do that changed a lot. So I'm glad that we actually had that time to be able to set the wheels in motion. But we, as I said, we landed on the delivering workshops face-to-face. We can do them over Zoom as well to schools and sports clubs. And it started, our first workshop was with Tugan Surf Club in February of 2023. It was definitely a big milestone for us to do our first one. And that was in the middle of our peak kind of competitive season as well. So we ticked off that first one. We had booked in a few other local workshops in both of our areas just to kind of get the ball rolling. And it's pretty much, well, the coolest thing about this is that it's been word of mouth kind of ever since then, because we've still been, being athletes is still our full-time job and kind of takes most of our time. So we're really working on KaMana Community in any other aspect of our life that we can. And it's been so cool to see it organically grow and for word of mouth to kind of spread what our workshops are about and encourage people to book us in, I guess. But we can't, as I said, I can't wait for what the next steps are when we have more time to dedicate to this and figure out how we can grow it to reach more girls across the country.
We absolutely get it. Absolutely, Lizzie. We totally understand. That's incredible.
Yeah, no, it's great. And moving to the next question, Lizzie, best piece of advice you've ever been given?
I have a love-hate relationship with this question because I feel like I've been very lucky to be surrounded by such incredible people throughout my life that have all given me such good advice in so many different ways. And I feel like all of this advice from all of these different people have all accumulated into this I guess, knowledge that I have now. And whenever I get asked this question, I get stressed because I don't know how the best way to answer it is.
Which is all that good advice? Which one do you pick? Yeah.
How do I put 10 years of good advice into one
just
sentence?
a one? Yeah.
But probably the thing that's been the most pivotal in my career as an athlete has really been understanding and truly believing that I'm not defined by my results. I'm not defined by the way that I look. I'm not defined about my accolades and everything that I achieve, but the most important part about me is my values, my passions, and who I am as a person. And there has been so many different times in my life where I've had to draw on this, whether it's like the pressure that I felt as a young teenager getting into the sport and having to perform at a high level, the pressure that I felt becoming an open athlete and not matching the results that I got when I was younger, the pressure that I felt to look a certain way and to have this ideal body in my mind, and all of these different parts of my life where I felt such pressure to do a certain thing or be a certain thing, where at the end of the day, it's important to have goals and it's important to strive for things and to try and achieve things. But the thing that I always come back to is that people love me and value me for the person that I am. And if I was never to achieve another thing in my life, I know those people would still be there for me.
That's awesome.
And
Absolutely.
Yeah,
That's
no,
like,
that's a
you
good
know,
answer.
that is a great answer, and that is really good advice. So I'm sure just that in itself will help, you know, so many people, you know, listening and brilliant
realizing
advice.
this, it sounds so obvious when you say it out loud. It's like, of course, people are
Yeah.
loved for who they are, but it can be applied in so many situations. So for young people listening at the moment, you might be putting a lot of pressure on yourself to get good grades at school to show that you're good enough, or you might be putting pressure on yourself to post the best photos on Instagram to show that you're good enough. This thing, it can show up in so many aspects of our life. For me, it's showed up in so many different points. Realizing the other side of that it actually doesn't matter, takes a long time. It's taken me years and years and years of practice and I guess dealing with all of this stuff to truly realize that what's inside is what matters most. It does sound, again, so simple saying it, but once you get to that point where you do truly believe it and understand it,
it's really hard when there's so much peer pressure around, though, and like in these days of social media as well, it's magnified. Like, you know, social, you know, when I was a teenager, when I was in my 20s, social media wasn't around. It was like, you know, you weren't scrutinized like, you know, what you wore, where you, like, you know, it was forgotten about. It wasn't there on someone's Instagram page that would live for, you know, the next 5 years to be able to go back and re-look over. So the peer pressure these days is so much more.
Yeah.
And what you guys are doing with KaMana Community is helping the new age kids and young females come through and know they got people out there like yourselves looking after them and giving them great advice. So again, thank you for creating something that's great for young females.
No,
Amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, well, we have both been very blessed, as I said, to have such great role models growing up. So we would love to be that for as many other athletes as we can.
It's all about giving back, isn't it?
Incredible.
Lee, you asked this question.
Did I mess the questions up, Maxie?
It's all good.
Again. I got all excited listening about the training and didn't realise I'd jumped the gun. Sorry,
it's okay.
Maxie.
It's all good. It's all good. But yeah, you're up next anyway.
Okay, so all of that, there would be a fair amount of stress in all of that. So, Lizzie, what have you found the most stressful part of the journey so far?
Again, it's been a very big journey, and I feel like every single season that I've competed in as an athlete, and I guess just every season of my life, there's always been something come up that has been stressful. And I think realizing that nothing ever goes to plan has probably been a good thing over the years, but you always think things will go smoothly and there'll be no obstacles until they are faced. But there's been so many, like, as I said, whether that is dealing with the immense amount of pressure I used to put on myself to continue to perform, coming out of my time being a junior athlete into the open ranks, and you don't get those results as often. And I was just mid-pack all the time and not feeling like I was getting those good results. Our sport is stressful in general. Throughout my 10 years of being an athlete, there's been many shifts in what our sport looks like. The professionalism has like increased and dropped, and like we're at a really great time right now where our sport's probably the best it's ever been in the time that I've been competing. So I don't know, do you want to pick one that sounds the most interesting for me to elaborate?
Adding on to that, I just kind of gone off script here. Is it true for maybe the 2032 Olympics? There's a slight chance that surf lifesaving might get might be one of the sports that they choose for 2032. Have you heard any more about that?
Well, there's definitely lots of whispers going around, and I know that there are a lot of people advocating, like within lifesaving, advocating for it to be in the Olympics. I mean, we definitely can't guarantee anything, but I think it's really cool
It'd be great
that
for
they're
the
trying.
sport.
It would be so great for our sport. I don't know if I've got 8 years left in me, but if it did make the
Come on,
Olympics,
Lizzie.
then I would be very inclined to try. But I guess on the questions of like what's stressful about our sport, for listeners who have never heard of our sport before, we compete in the ocean and we have to compete in any conditions that the beach gives us that day. And we have competed in conditions that have scared me to my core, like big waves, wind pushing the waves all over the place, currents everywhere. Sometimes in races we would get out the back and no one on the beach would be able to see us. Like there's just been some crazy conditions that we've had to race in. So to be able to hold our nerves and to be able to focus during those times, it's quite stressful as an athlete. And also,
I'd say that's more than stressful, more than fits.
But what's also stressful in that sense is that our sport has a very big element of chance in it. So you can do all the train the hardest you have ever had in your life, but you could rock up to every single competition with it being big surf, and there's no guarantee about who is going to win that race, and the best person on the day may not necessarily win that race. So our sport is extremely character building, because even if you know you've done all the hard work that you can get a good result, that's not necessarily the case. And then on the flip side of that, if you're a young and upcoming athlete and you make it into the big league, well, there's every single chance that you could do well too, because when you put your foot on the line, who knows what's going to happen. So yeah, that's a big part of our sport that I think takes a special kind of athlete to be able to deal with that.
I actually, that's really interesting. You never think about that, in a lot of sports, and, we've all just been watching, Olympics, so much of it's controlled, that you're dealing with the ocean where that's not controlled.
No, definitely not. So that's, I think that's quite a stressful part of our sport. It's also why we all love it, because even when we go to training, it's different every day. Like even though we look at the black line every morning, it's really comforting to know that when we go to the beach that afternoon, it's going to be different to what it was the day before. So it's a very enjoyable part of our sport, but also a very tricky part of our sport too.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There you go. Exactly. And adding on to that, how do you deal with stress? Do you have a certain way or thing that you like to do to kind of de-stress you and make you reset?
Yeah. So dealing with stress, again, has been something that I've learned a lot about over my time of being an athlete. I think when I was younger, I wasn't very good at dealing with it at all. It would come out in tears most of the time, as it still does occasionally, but definitely less. For me now, the biggest thing that I try and do is to reduce the stress that I experience from day to day, so that it doesn't build up into this big thing that I have to deal with at the end of a month or an end of a period of time where I've had a lot of stress. So little things that I do every day are journaling. I'm a big journaler. I have lots of different journals, depending whether I'm journaling on training or general life or just what I have to do for the day. I have a big drawer of like 20 journals from over the years, which I like to keep them all, because one day I plan to read back through all of them, but I haven't done that yet. So journaling is a big one for me, because it gets the thoughts that I'm having out into the open. I find it a lot easier to deal with it once they're written down and I can process or like see what's been going on in my mind. I try to manage physical stress in a way that I try not to have a day where it's fully, completely packed full of things, and like to give myself time to have a moment in each day. So whether that's just having lunch outside for 10 minutes without my phone and without doing anything, just so that I can give my brain a chance to relax. And because we're up at 5 a.m. for training, and then I work on KaMana during the day. We've got training in the afternoon, and sometimes without realizing it, my brain can be working in overdrive for a really long time. So it's important for me to have those moments throughout the day where I can take a
That's
breath
really good advice.
and relax. And then in the long run, when I do find myself in a really stressful situation, I mean, I'm definitely not perfect at dealing with stress, but I think what I am good at is reflecting on periods of time where I have been super stressed, realizing the impact that that's had on me, and then being aware of that so that I won't do that again in the future.
See
I
the
can try to
signs.
avoid it. So I think for me, definitely journaling and reflecting on the things that I've learned is probably the thing that I do the most.
Amazing.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Amazing.
I
Absolutely.
also see a psychologist,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
is, I recommend
helps.
if anyone has the opportunity to have access to talk to someone, whether it's a counselor or at your school or
Yeah.
it is actually seeing a proper psychologist, even if you don't have any issues. I feel like you never, like, the benefits of it are so good. Just talking to someone completely third party, I find it.
I absolutely agree, because sometimes you just like need, someone that's completely impartial, that they're not, and it's just somewhere where you can absolutely go, particularly when if you, doing something that's really stressful, or I think that's really such good advice. And I think more and more people are accepting that is like, it's actually self-care. It's not that it's preventative. It's not that there's a problem.
Definitely. And I see, like, the psychologist that I see is a sports psychologist, but it's definitely, she's my life psychologist. Like, I definitely speak to her a lot more about than just sport, but definitely something I wish I had realized earlier is that it's not, you don't have to just see a psychologist when something's wrong with you. It can be self-care and it can be preventative measures as well.
Yeah, no,
that is great advice. Absolutely.
It's and a good thing with psychologists too, they can give you a different perspective of how you think and feel as well. From an outside looking in, they might be able to give you a bit more advice outside for you to kind of go, hang on, well, yeah, I've been looking at this all wrong. So it kind of helps you reset and grow and be better.
Yeah,
definitely. Amazing. So going back to KaMana, is there a way, did I say that right?
KaMana, yeah.
Yeah, KaMana. Any advice how people can find you, get involved? Is there anything that people can, do you have a website where people can go and look at your resources?
Yeah, so we have a website which you can look at to see our workshops and how you can book them in. So it's just www.kamanacommunity.com. It's very simple. You can also send us an email if you want to inquire about one of our workshops, and we deliver them face-to-face or online. And if it's online, it can be done all around the world as well.
Amazing. That's fantastic. And what we'll do when we share this, we'll put the website and your social media and all the things like that, Lizzie, so people can find you and follow along, because I think you've got some great advice there and it's so important. Exactly. So cool. Go, Maxie.
Yeah. And I know you're always training and doing bits and pieces, but any other hobbies you like to do in your spare time?
Well, between training and, I feel like the coolest thing about doing KaMana Community is that it's work, but Harriet and I are both so passionate about it that often, a lot of the time, it doesn't feel like work. So I love doing little things on it every opportunity that I can, but I do love to save the weekends to just switch off and hang out at home. And I guess I don't really have a specific hobby, but I really love just like walking down to the beach, enjoying coffee with your friends, reading books, switching off. Every opportunity I can, I like to try and travel up and down the coast to go to new locations. And I always used to say I love surfing, but I don't think I've surfed in 2 years now. I do I do love it, but I haven't done it in a while. So maybe I need to put it on my to-do list to just kind of get back out there and go for a surf. But I feel like I'm either too tired or I'm in the ocean all the time. I can't be bothered to go in again. But yeah, I do love surfing. I think it's really fun.
I'm with you on that. I love surfing outside of Sydney. Being a lifeguard on the Sydney beaches, I couldn't think of anything worse on my lunch break or day off to go down and surf Bondi and Maroubra or anywhere. But when I do go away outside of Sydney or go overseas, I'm in the water 3 times a day. I love it.
100%. I feel the same way. So yeah, I feel like maybe holidaying is my hobby, but it doesn't happen very often.
Amazing. So we talked about it roughly in the intro. Next career goal for you, Lizzie. What's next on the list?
Well, I have had the same goal probably for the past 9 years, which has been to try and win the Iron Series or win one of the professional series in our sport. As I said, our sport's at a really cool point now where it's had quite a few changes over the past few years, but it's elevated season on season. And this year we have 2 main professional series running, which is the Shaw and Partners Iron Series, and then we also have the World Ocean Series, I think. So those are the 2 professional series that run within our sport. Both are a bit different in the way that they work, but both, I think, are very prestigious. So if I could win either of those or win both, like that would be amazing. But in the 10 years that I've been competing, I have never won either. So it is, I know it's a bit of a hard challenge, but it's still something I would really love to achieve. And I think sorry, let me start again. Because I started as a professional athlete so young, I always assumed that I would reach my goals quite quickly. Like if you had asked my 16, 17-year-old self when I would win a series title, I would have said, it would probably be within hopefully 5 and 6 years, because that's a long time to be in the sport. And now I'm at 10 years and I guess I still haven't reached that dream goal that I want to achieve. And it's taken me a long time to realize that even though I've been a professional athlete for such a long time now, because I started so young, it's okay for me to still be maturing 10 years on, because I think I thought that I would be mature and have known everything that I need to know by the time I was like 21. But that certainly hasn't been the case. And I'm still learning so much season on season, week by week. So we'll see. I hope to try and get there this season. And if I don't, I'll try again the next season. I've really come to realize that I love the process of trying to get there. I love what I learn about myself every season. And even if I don't know, who knows if I'll get there or not, but I love being an athlete and the opportunity that it gives me. So I'll just stay on this path for as long as I can and see what happens.
Brilliant. When does the season start, Lizzie?
The World Ocean Series starts in November, and then the Iron Series starts in December, and it runs throughout summer. I think both will finish up in around February, but we actually have our World Championships in a month on the Gold Coast. So that's our big world events always happen in winter because it's summer in Europe. So that's always like a really weird time of the season for our sport, because all of the Aussie athletes are still in their preseason, but we all still compete in it anyway. So that'll be fun. That'll be our first race of the season.
Yeah, I think we know a few people coming over, don't we, Maxie, for that, because there's Santa Teresa lifeguards, and when we were down in the UK, and I think I saw we know some people in South Wales from trips that we've done, and we know that there's some, and I'm actually in Brizzy, so I think I might have a little drive down the M1 and see if to meet catch up with a few people. So amazing. So
no, that's cool. With what you were saying, Lizzie, and going on to the next question, there's a couple more questions to go. I know you're short for time. If you weren't an Iron Woman, what would you be?
I really have loved being an Iron Woman and being an athlete so much. I often find myself being really, like, just feeling so lucky to have been able to be an athlete for so long and be able to, I guess, live out my dream, because it's kind of going on a bit of a tangent here, but it's really hard in our sport. We don't have any contracts or anything. It's really hard to get paid properly. So it's been a grind to be able to do it for 10 years, but I feel so privileged that I've been able to make it work for so long. But if I were to do something else, I mean, growing up, Maxie, I always wanted to be a lifeguard, to be the first chick on Bondi Rescue. But
it's not too late. There's been girls, but it's not too late.
There's plenty of girls now. But no, I don't know. I haven't given much thought to what I would rather be. Actually, so here we go. We recently did our first overseas trip to America to present some workshops in California, which was
I
really
saw that. Yeah.
And we presented a workshop at Stanford University, and it was so cool being able to go to that university, see the grounds, see the facilities that they have there. And I thought to myself, in another life, I would have loved to be a college athlete and to experience that, especially in a team sport. And then watching the Olympics now, seeing how
Yes.
cool it would be to be part of an Olympic sport in a team. So I think maybe in another life, I would have liked to be maybe a water polo player or a basketball player or something.
Yeah, that's
really
pretty cool.
sport like that. Yeah.
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Well, it's never, you may just have a little, pivot, Lizzie, and just, water polo could be Brisbane 2032. Who knows?
I know. I often think about, do I have time to change sports and which Olympic sport can I change to? But that's just a pipe dream. I don't think that's happening for me.
You got to have the little pipe dream. So now you touched on earlier about you as a 16-year-old, and I know this question's like a very typical question, but what would you say to 6-year-old Lizzie? What advice would you give her?
I would say, one, be patient. Things aren't going to happen straight away and exactly the way that you planned, but try and enjoy the journey. And then the second thing I would say would be, don't dread every obstacle that comes your way, because each one of those obstacles you're going to learn something from that's going to benefit you in the long run. So when these obstacles do come, and they will, take a deep breath. You'll get through it, see what you can learn from it, and then reflect on it at the other side, which I have done throughout my life. But I think it took me a really long time to realize how important that is. So I would have loved to have known that at a younger age.
Amazing.
Yeah, great answer.
Great answer.
You've nailed this podcast, Lizzie. It's been great chatting with you. And the last question is, we ask a lot of different people all across our guests of a podcast and so on that we have. Oh, cat's going crazy. Yeah. Do you have a song for our playlist, our Live, Learn, Survive playlist, that puts you in a good mood, gets you fired up just before you're about to go for a race out in the surf? Have you got a song that you could add to our Spotify playlist?
So when in my second year in the Nutrigrain series, I was in the top 6, and the top 6 got to pick a song that they could run out to. Everyone would run out, and then the top 6 would get their own song. So I was absolutely frothing that I got to run out to my own music, and I picked Chameleon by Panau. And that very first race of that series, I actually won that race, and then they played it nonstop after I won, in the medal ceremony and all of those things. So that song never fails to fire me up.
There you go. So Panau, Chameleon. All right, I'm adding it. It's Panau by Kira Devine as well.
No, Chameleon by Panau.
Yeah, Panau. That's it. Chameleon by Panau. Perfect. Well, it's added to the playlist. And
amazing.
I look forward to having a listen.
It's a random one, but it's fun.
I think we've got over 200 songs in there now, Lizzie, and they're from people that have been all around the world that have sent us their or been on the podcast and sent us their go-to song. So it's in great company, and I'm going to go and listen to that, and I'll think about it. So that's amazing. Thank you so much, Lizzie. Literally, your passion for what you do and the energy just literally comes out of every word that you say. And good luck with everything this season, and congratulations on all that you're achieving with Harriet, with KaMana, because it's really needed for young girls. And anytime that we can ever Live, Learn, Survive help you, or whatever, we will be absolutely in your corner. So really thank you.
Yeah. No, thanks, Lizzie, for being a guest, and I look forward to seeing you on the beach, and bring on those great results this year. Good luck, and you'll smash it.
Guys. Thank you.
So are you off training now? What are we training next?
Yeah, heading off to training now. We've got board training this afternoon at Newport Beach. That's the surf club I compete for. So I'll be heading off shortly.
Heading off there, and then swimming in the morning. How far do you do every morning?
We're doing about 6 kilometers each morning at the moment. So we're in
Smashing
our heavy load part of the season, which is a bit torturous, but it's an important part of the season. So we're grinding.
Well, I will think of you when I plod through my, couple of Ks, Lizzie. You will be my inspiration. So, no, thank you so much. Have a great training session, and thanks again. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
Take care, Lizzie. Bye.